Join us now for the expert source for inside information on the options markets. It's time for Options Insider Radio with your host, Mark Longo.
Welcome back to Options Insider Radio. Our next guest is yet another newcomer to the program. And once again, this is why we love the OIC show so much, because it allows us to interface with so many different people and so many different aspects of the options industry. And one of our favorite ones actually is the retail brokerage side, because it is so competitive and so cutthroat and so interesting from an analytical perspective. And our next guest is a representative of that perspective. He is Michael Ranieri, the chairman and CEO of Zecco. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Like I said, I love talking to the retail brokerage guys because to me, it's just one of the most fascinating spaces. Obviously, the exchanges are competitive. Many different aspects of the option space are competitive, but the retail brokerage space is just extremely cutthroat these days. I mean, you're fighting on commissions, you're fighting on a variety of other aspects, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we even do that, I should probably give you a chance to introduce Zecco and tell our listeners at home who may not have heard of your firm what it is that you do and what you're bringing that's unique to the option space.
Absolutely. So first at a high level, Zecco is made up of a couple of sister companies. We have Zecco Forex for currency trading, Zecco Trading, which we trade equities, options, bonds, and Zecco Inc., which is the community and all the content that we have on Zecco.com. What we think we bring to the table is the best value in the marketplace. Our pricing is the best pricing on the street. We charge $4.50 a trade for equities, $4.50 a trade for options with about 50 cents a contract. But our special deal is with a $25,000 balance, you get 10 free trades a month. And so that's where the zero commission trading theme came from.
Is that for both equities and options?
The 10 free trades a month are just for equities. But our option pricing is very, very attractive. So our value proposition is a very good price, but powerful web tools, community intelligence, and spectacular customer service. And that package we feel is the best value on the street.
I know one of the things that first caught my eye about your firm, and I think a lot of people's eyes, was that the zero cost thing. And so a lot of the questions we had then from our users from an options perspective, people were coming to us saying, oh, we thought Zecco was free on the option space too. So explain a little bit about why you have the two different models for equities and options, and then also explain exactly how your commission structure works for options.
Sure. So the cost structure is different. That's the main reason why we're able to afford giving 10 free trades a month if you have a $25,000 balance for equities. For options, we can't do that, but it's a great price. It's $4.50 a trade plus 50 cents a contract, and that's a very attractive option trading price.
You know, we've seen a lot of, fluidity, for lack of a better word, in the commission area these days. A lot of people have very recently changed some long-held pricing structures. Some of the flat rate players have changed that model. We saw a new brokerage firm launch a few months ago with a flat rate that they promptly changed a day or two later because it didn't work, and apparently they didn't research that ahead of time. So there's a lot of fluidity in that space, but commissions are definitely a way to identify yourself. Did you launch with the $4.50 for the options, or is that something you've kind of arrived at recently?
Yes, we launched with that pricing for options.
And it's interesting, too. On the one hand, commissions are a way to kind of establish yourself in the space, but they also kind of are a bit of a, almost a race to the bottom in terms of competing only on commissions. You know, what we've seen a lot with our user base is, when you go after them purely on commissions, you're going to get a certain type of user who's only motivated by cost, and they're probably not going to be the most active of traders and the most informed. And what we found, probably the most dynamic aspect of the options market these days is not basic retail, it's not institutional, it's the high-end retail. That's where the explosion really is occurring right now. And those customers come to us all the time, and they want to know more than just, $10 flat rate or $4.50 or whatever it might be. They want to know execution quality. They want to know tools and platform. So those are the kind of people I think that take a little bit more of a nuanced approach, but once you lure them in, they're a very, very valuable customer. They trade more actively, they have larger account sizes, and they're the kind of people you want to bring in and keep around for a longer period of time.
Yeah, and we have a pretty compelling offer for that customer segment. We've launched two things. One is the community that plays well into that strategy. The second is a set of tools that we launched as part of our rebuild of our website. We completely rebuilt our website from the ground up. And we built a tool called the Option Analyzer as well as the Strategy Builder. And what we're finding is that there's a lot of sophisticated investors out there that if they had a little bit of help in helping build that strategies or decide what strategy they wanted to deploy in a certain market situation, they'd be more prone to trying more complex multi-legged option strategies. And we recently built a tool that basically, if you understand what's happening in the market, you know the underlying security, and you have an idea of the relative volatility of that security, we can recommend through this tool what strategy you should deploy. And then once you pick the strategy, to build the intelligent option chain so that you pick the strategy with the chain and one-click execution. We are short on the execution until our new trading platform comes out later this year. But the tool's out on our site right now at Zecco.com where you can build those option strategies. And so it's not so daunting to try to figure out how to technically build those strategies, where most people shy away from the multi-legged strategies because of that.
You know, we've seen a lot of focus on the idea generation type of thing. It plays very well, like I said, to that high-end retail audience, because a lot of them do come in. They want sophisticated tools, but it can also be overwhelming when they see such a variety of things at their disposal. Sometimes they need a little bit of a prompting, go here, go there. So that kind of thing has worked very well, at least we've seen in the past with some other platforms that have done something similar. Another thing I want to just focus and follow up on a little bit is you mentioned the community aspect. And I'm curious, what does that include and what kind of content are you putting out there? What are you doing to kind of build that community at Zecco?
Right. Well, I think it's connected with the tool conversation as well, because people don't commune with each other only around content and ideas. They do that. But what we're finding is they're starting to commune about how to use those tools, what searches to deploy, what strategies to deploy, and community around leveraging the tools themselves. In our site on Zecco.com, we have the community where people can connect with each other like any social network. But what we've done is take the derived data, the aggregate data of the community, and started to build that into the market data as well. So when you get a price quote on Apple, for example, you're not just getting the market data, you're seeing what the community sentiment is. Are they bullish or bearish on Apple? For the people who have Apple or Apple strategies in their portfolio, do they do better than other people in the community? The other way people use the community is to validate ideas, back to the ideation. We think that you can shorten or streamline the process from idea to transaction by finding people in the community that have the same approach, the same strategies you do, and bounce ideas off of each other and validate ideas and strategies.
You know, another firm that has taken the community aspect and what's worked pretty well for them is TradeKing. That's kind of one of their pretty much main value adds these days is the community aspects. I'm curious if you've examined their community and how you think your offerings fare next to theirs.
I respect the TradeKing guys tremendously. They have an incredible community.
We don't want respect on this show. We want hair pulling and nail biting.
Exactly. I think the
tooth and claw.
The community is only good as the participants and the scale. The larger the community, the more valuable that community is, the more active that community is. We have over 300,000 members in our community. At any given time, 40% of them are active in any given month. It's a very vibrant community. And what we do differently is integrate that community data back into the market data. We've integrated the community into our tools. Another great example of this is when you build a screen, when you're trying to find a stock by building a screen. You can share that screen with the community, and then the community can build on it. So it's not just about people communicating with each other. It's basically interacting with each other on the tool. And that's why I think our community is superior.
Now, we do a lot of work with our users and our audience to talk to them about what different platforms, what brokerage firms, what different types of tools they prefer. And we do a lot of different surveying and just talking informally about what they use out there. Whenever we ask them, who's their options brokerage of choice or to list their top ones, Zecco isn't usually the top choice we see on there. So I'm kind of curious, A, why you think that is, and B, what you guys are doing in addition to what you've already said with the community and other aspects to really kind of capture some mind share away from people who, let's say, have options in their name and who are very much targeted at this space.
Sure. Well, you just said it. Part of it is some of these smaller firms have focused on options, and we have a broader appeal. We focus on the independent affluent investor that does a little bit of all trading. But we have a very interesting platform coming out in the future that's really going to streamline the process of idea to transaction and take out a lot of the technical knowledge and mistakes that investors make by building those strategies, from that option trader tool that I described all the way to the transaction. So we're very excited about that. We've also are early in an evolution of a company. We've been in business about 3 years now and know we need to invest more in our option strategy, and you'll see a lot of interesting things coming out. In addition to education is very important for the option trader.
Yes.
And we have our basic education offering on the site, but we're exploring some partnerships that will be very interesting that include education later on this year.
Education, I guess, one of the core tenets we see from a lot of our users. They evaluate based on platform, they evaluate based on education, and additionally commissions. That's definitely one of the 3 tent poles they look at. And if your education offering is lacking, and the firms out there do have very substantial, educational offerings, that's something that they're going to look for. So yeah, that's definitely something I would think that an increased presence in would definitely resonate well with the community.
And the flavor that we want to put on it is, rather than education and selling education, there's 3 legs of this stool, and they revolve around community tools and education. And what we're trying to do is bring the tools into the community. We're trying to bring education into the community, so the community communes more on tools and education, and as a group collaborate on these things with the people that are most like them and take the same approach that they do towards investing in specific option trading.
One of the questions we hear a lot from some of our active users is we want to compare different brokerages, and not just on commissions. We really want to look at them in terms of execution quality. That's usually a thing that we hear traditionally in the institutional space, but now that's really spilling over into the high-end retail as well. They know that it's not worth them coming in and saving a few bucks on a commission if they're losing 10 times that in bad executions. So but right now there really isn't any sort of standard metric they can use to compare X brokerage versus Y brokerage when it comes to execution quality. So I'm curious what you'd recommend for customers who are looking to compare to different brokers, how they should go about it, and maybe are there some metrics that Zecco can put forth that would help the users identify how their executions and how they compare to other firms in the space.
Right. Well, our clearing firm, Penson Financial, is known for having very high quality and speedy executions in the option market. I don't think there's as much data as there is for comparison purposes in the equity markets, and probably is an improvement.
There isn't. No, that's one of the problems, yes.
And that's definitely an improvement the industry needs to make. I think as there's more transparency in option trading and in exchange trading, there'll be more visibility into that. I think it's an improvement the industry can make for comparative perspective, but we don't have that data.
Yeah, that's something, we've talking a lot of different participants about that, and it's just something where I think there needs to be a little more, obviously, more transparency, more data, more metrics available, because it is a growing concern in the retail space now. People want to know, I want to be able to compare X broker versus Y broker, and they really can't do it unless they open up multiple accounts, and no one's really going to go to that extreme.
That's right, and it is around transparency. Where does that trade actually get executed? On an exchange,
exactly.
Off the floor, off the market. And until there's more transparency, it's going to be hard to collect that data.
Yes, I agree. That's pretty much about all I have for you. And one thing I have been talking to some of the other brokerage heads about, and it's just something I've seen from one of the competitors recently. It's something they've had around for a while, but I just noticed it recently, and I think it's something that really makes a lot of sense. And we see this a lot with our beginner retail options customers. They come in, they'll sell some options, whatever it might be, and it'll win, it'll work out for them. But then they don't close it out when it gets down to like a dime or a nickel on that strike. For whatever reason, they don't want to incur commissions, they don't want to go through the hassle. And there's a few firms out there that incentivize now people to do that and take that risk off the books by offering them, if it's down to a dime or a nickel, on a short, they can close it out without a commission, which I think is just a fantastic idea, because it's incentivizing the kind of behavior that you want from your customers. It makes sense for the customer, he's taking risk off the table. It makes sense for you because it's pulling risk off your books as well. And there's no reason not to incentivize that kind of behavior. So I'm planting that seed in all the different brokerage heads. It's a simple thing, but that's the kind of things we see that we think can help incentivize better behavior in options traders, and I think would go a long way with your customer base.
Absolutely, and we're looking into that currently with our clearing firm. It's definitely a topic of discussion on the table.
That's good to hear. We do a lot of work with the top mistakes of options traders and that sort of thing. That's definitely high up there, isn't it? Not closing out these shorts that really have no reason to leave open.
Anytime you can eliminate the risk for the investor and the firm, I think overall everyone's better
off. Exactly. So I think that's just a good message to get out there. That's pretty much all I have for you, Michael, today, unless there's something else that you would like to add.
No, I just thank you for having me, and I'd love to come back sometime.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Options Insider Radio. Be sure to visit www.theoptionsinsider.com for more episodes of this program. as well as breaking news from the options market, the latest articles and analysis from options experts, a wide variety of options education, and of course our discussion center where you can share your questions, comments, and insights with your fellow Options Insider users. While you're there, be sure to register for our monthly email newsletter, as well as our free email alert system. Our email alert system makes it even easier to stay up to date on the latest content from theoptionsinsider.com. Thanks again for listening. My name is Mark Longo, and I'll see you next time on Options Insider Radio.
Options Insider Radio was created by Mark Longo and produced by Gene Crotty. Options Insider Radio is a production of the Options Insider Incorporated, all rights reserved.